Hello and happy Monday. Today is July 15th, 2024. I did not do a reading last week. I'm sorry, I had a lot of technical issues and whatever. But here we are again. I'm back. So when I checked in for this week, I got a lot of information that I'm going to try to make as simple as possible. But sometimes when the energy comes through, it comes through in these circles, and I try to follow it. So bear with me. Okay, so I did take some notes. So it seems that as we move into this coming week that we're already in, it very much feels like a pressure cooker, which was really interesting when I got that information. So it's like, I know on the East Coast in the United States, we're having this heat wave and it's sort of stopped. I don't know. I don't feel like it has, but I guess we had a day or something that was out of it. But we're in this heat wave and there's another one coming and it's going to be extremely hot tomorrow. It's a lot of humidity. So that makes sense. So when I was looking at it though, the pressure cooker is really like this fire energy and it feels much more emotional. It's not so much connected to the earth, but as we know, the earth energy and human energy very much works together. So it makes sense that we would be feeling this bubbling up weather-wise, but to really look at this as an emotional thing as well and energetically. So it's very societal all around us, and we're sort of caught in this pressure cooker of energy. So it feels that this week it's going to be bubbling up to the surface, and in bubbling up, there's going to be some kind of a shift in the energy. But as we know, with pressure cookers, that can go two ways, right? Like it can literally explode outside of our control, or we can control it and it slowly starts to lose the pressure and all is good. The meal is great. So, something that's really important to keep in mind here is the compassion and the kindness, both to yourself and to the society as a whole, as far as creating compassion so that as the pressure starts to change, that we can do it in a slow, compassionate way. So when I looked deeper into this message, right, I look at where we came from, where we are, and where we're going. And as far as where we came from, right, there's a lot of conflict. The conflict is high. We're in fire energy. Fire energy is, it's like a lot of emotion. There can be anxiety there. There can be joy in there, but it's like at the top. It doesn't have a lot of depth. We're not exploring our feelings. We don't know why we're here. Maybe we have a vision of where we're going, but we lost our reason and our purpose as to why we're going there, right? So fire energy is like very fast. It's very up there. It's very hot. It's very passionate, right? So we're kind of caught up in that. That's the pressure. That's the community in this pressure cooker. So we want to look at that. So this is kind of where we have been is with this battle and this fire, and this idea of competition came up. So competition as far as from a very like youthful place of competition. So what that might look like is, a bunch of kids at a board game, right? And it's gotten really heated and you want to win and, but in order for you to win, somebody else has to lose, but there's this like drive to win because the stakes are high and I want to succeed. And so it's sort of like the joy that you get caught up, whether you're in that the board game or playing kickball or football or whatever sport you're going to play, and you just kind of get like caught up in the winning, that thrill, right? So it's somewhat innocent in that because of course we want to be in that in some ways that excitement feels wonderful. It's like joyful excitement, right? It's all in the game. It's just for the fun of it. So this is part of the conflict though, because in us being in the joy of it, we have in some ways lost perspective of what's really at stake and the reality that we live in context with others, and we in seeking our own ego have forgotten the compassion for those around us and the need to win and the fun of it. We have almost lost sight of what that means for others as well. And it's not to say don't have fun. Obviously, you want to have fun, but what is happening this week is that we're having to look around us at like what has been created from this sort of joy of competition, if you will. And so that leads us to where we are. And so where we are right now is sort of in this illusion of self. So, when I was looking into this, some of the things that start to come up is that we don't actually have all the information and we don't have all the knowledge. However, we have been acting as if we do, right? We have lost sight of the fact that we don't know everything. And so we've been acting from this place of like, I know it all, I'm going to win, and that we have this full understanding of ourselves. But to be aware that this could be an illusion, this idea of winning could be an illusion, and to really start to look at things that are beyond ourself. And so what that means, and I know if you're watching this, you have a sort of not a need, but a want and an interest in spirit and knowing more about yourself, right? And so I love to connect both of those things to self-development and emotions. But this is about if we're looking beyond the material, because we're being asked to look beyond our material needs into a more of a spiritual or energetic aspect of ourselves, right? So we want to look at, and this is the message that got really confusing for me, to be honest, because I can feel it, but it's hard to explain it. So I'm going to do the best that I can. It is a time to really check in with yourself, because at the moment, we're being asked to take a second to look beyond what we think we need materialistically into what our soul needs to move forward on purpose with our higher self and, source energy. So if we think about ourselves as these souls choosing to be here in service of this greater soul purpose, it's time for us to start to check in. So like I said, we're in that board game, we're the heat of winning, we're in that joy of the moment, we're maybe being egged on. And in all of that fire, passionate energy, it's time to start to check in and be reminded, what is your soul purpose? So you may have to slow down and you may have to look around and say, you know what? I've gotten a lot of things, right? Like, what did I need when I got here? I needed a home, I needed a job, I needed a partner. I have those things, but somehow you needed more. Maybe you needed the bigger home, you needed the better partner, you needed whatever it is, more money, always more. So this is the time to check in, to be like, do you need that new dress? Or is it something that maybe you just need a deeper sense of yourself to know that I'm actually really good showing up in the way that I am. I don't really need a new disguise. So this is the time to check in and to let go of the illusion. So in doing that, it's also important when we think about our soul's purpose is that sometimes the desires that we have are what leads us to our spirit or our true purpose or our truest self. But in order to really understand what desire is, we have to look at it from the core. So our desire, the things that light us up, the things that make us feel very connected to this planet and to our place in our community. A desire isn't necessarily I want. A desire comes more from like it energizes you from inside. It feels very much on purpose. So if you start to look at your desires as places that, well, I want that, but why do I want that? It will start to deepen your connection to the why, which is going to help you to stay connected to the purpose, which is then going to lead you to this truer sense of yourself, to this purpose, for, source energy, for community, for being here in your soul's purpose. Okay. Now, we also have to look at it like, I'm just reading my notes again. So if we look at that as our compass, we want to look at any areas in our life that we have blocked off, or any part of us that our wants have led us to be sort of controlled, right? And this is where it again got a little bit wishy-washy in confusion. So like I said, desires can come from a place of I want, I need that new dress. I need that specific person to be my partner. But sometimes those needs and wants are illusions because they cover up a deeper core issue that we're having. So we're here to look at when those desires keep us sort of like chained and limited to a specific way that we're living, instead of looking beyond it and asking more questions and saying, why do I want that? Because the why is what's going to lead you deeper to the true desire and the self, which is going to be your true purpose, which is going to break through the chain and lead you more on point to where you need to go, that gets you out of the fire pot. Hopefully you're still with me. So what does that mean for the future? Well, again, we come up against this illusion that somebody's going to come and save us. Somebody's going to lead us out of the fire, and all is going to be good because this archetypical father figure saves the day. And unfortunately, that seems to be the problem, because we have taken off the goggles and we recognize now that we do not have a savior coming to lead us out of the fire. And instead, we need to be truly connected to ourself, to our desire, to our purpose, and to our community. And in order to do that, we have to, again, see all the players at the board game and not just our own winning streaks, to recognize that we're part of this circle and find compassion for those who may be losing or off center, off their purpose, still with the illusion. We need to, instead of thinking of it as competition, we need to think of it as a whole circle of community. It doesn't mean that you need to agree with somebody else, and it doesn't mean that you need to give up on your purpose or your joy or your wanting to get to a certain place at all. This is just to recognize that there is not a one person coming to save the world, but that you have a place in it. So you have to sort of find the compassion for others, because nobody's going to come and tell you how to behave. You should be adults. That's kind of what's coming up. But to recognize, okay, so I have this note that says, recognize to find the compassion and the responsibility for yourself, especially when society is not making any sense. Because I think that, and I'm laughing only, even though it's not funny, because if we look around the world right now, it just isn't making sense. It's not playing by the rules. Like we were born into a rule book, and right now the world doesn't seem to understand the rules. So again, the illusion is gone, right? Like we know now that the world, there's no rule book. There's no savior, there's no ruler, right? So we have to understand if there's no ruler, then all the people have to sort of have compassion for each other because we need to be in a place that we don't need somebody telling us how to live, how to do what is right, because we have an inner compass that tells us, like, obviously, if we're going to hurt somebody or want something and take from somebody, we know that that's not right. So we have to live by our own responsibility and our compassion. So the boundaries and the stability that we may have thought were inherent, they're not actually. We need to be responsible for those boundaries and that stability. And it's not save yourself, it's recognize yourself, recognize your purpose, recognize your part in it, and find compassion so that others come with you. So it's not save yourself. It's like recognize we're all in this together. And if we work together, we can move forward. And that is a bigger message. Again, it goes beyond this week, but this week there's stuff going on that this is all going to be starting to come up to the surface, both on a big level and also on a personal level. So look at your life and where this applies, and start to sort of put together how you can either come back on purpose to your desires and your and where you're going, come back to your community, come back to that part of you that wants to separate yourself by winning and being right, and where you can start to find compassion. So just looking at yourself and the life around you and where this might apply, and then putting it into place with what you can. So hope it works for you. Hope that makes sense, and hope you can take some of that and give yourself some compassion for this week coming up, because it is going to be a hot one. So if you like this message, please like the button underneath and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so I can continue to check in for everybody that shows up. Have a good week.